So you have learned a little bit about functions in JavaScript. In this section, we're going to examine functions in more detail. So I'm going to start by defining a function called walk. And here we do a console.log of walk. What we have here is what we refer to as a function declaration. But in JavaScript, there is another way to define a function, and that is using a function expression. So we start by declaring a variable or a constant, give it a name like run, and then we set that to a function. So just like we can set a variable to a number or a string or an object, we can also set it to a function. And you know that in JavaScript, functions are objects. So setting the run variable to a function is similar to setting it to an object, okay? And at the end here, we need to add a semicolon, because whenever we declare a variable or a constant, we terminate this statement with a semicolon. So here's another example. We set x to 1 and terminate it with a semicolon. In contrast, we don't put the semicolon when we define a function using the function declaration syntax. It doesn't really matter. So if we run this code, we're not going to get any errors. But by convention, we don't do this. So that's one difference between function declarations and function expressions. Now, let's do a console.log of run here. So basically here we have defined a function, and this function does not have a name. Its syntax is very similar to what we have in a function declaration, except that here we don't have a name. We can give it a name, and then we would refer to this as a named function expression, or we can exclude the name. And with this, we'll have an anonymous function expression. So we have defined an anonymous function that doesn't have a name and set run to reference that function. So now we can call that anonymous function using this reference, just like how we call a function in JavaScript. So save the changes and we get the run message on the console. Now we can declare another variable, call it move, and set it to run. So now both move and run are referencing the same anonymous function, which is one object in memory. So we can call that anonymous function using this other reference. So if we call move, we get the same result. So to recap, in JavaScript, there are two ways to define a function. We can use the function declaration syntax or function expression, which basically involves declaring a variable or a constant and then setting it to a function. In the next lecture, we'll look at the key difference between a function declaration and a function expression.